This is Grief and Grit, from heartache to high fives with a dash of sass. The podcast that turns the tables on traditional grief talks with a fresh, sassy spin. Listen in for candid conversations about the messy, awkward, and downright hilarious aspects of dealing with loss. Because sometimes the best way to cope is with a little laughter and a lot of grit.
Hi,
Hi,
Simonie.
Greer. How are you?
Good. How about you?
I'm good. Well,
Yeah.
you're not that okay. For anyone, not everyone can see, but
Right.
Greer sprained her ankle.
I did. The kids and I went to see Dog Man with Jared's parents over the weekend, and I don't know what happened, but walking out of the movie theater, I somehow took a fall forward and sprained my left ankle.
Boy.
And I now have a big boot on my foot. I would show you guys, but that would be really too difficult at this point.
Little
So sorry.
awkward, yeah.
Um, and it's fine. It's fine. But
I know.
we're going to Disney on Sunday.
Well, that's fun, but not so fun to go with a big fat boot on your foot.
Yeah, so I'm gonna figure out how to maneuver that. I'm calling on the village to give me all
Yeah,
the tips and the things because
yeah.
I know I'm not the first one to experience
Oh
this.
no, oh no. And I
So,
think I think they're pretty geared at Disney for things like this.
yes,
So
agreed.
I think,
Thankfully.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think you'll be in good hands there.
I agree. There are much worse places to go and much worse things to have. So perspective continues to keep me grounded and
That's what we
continues to
do.
remind me that it's okay.
That's what we do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, today we're going to be speaking about the dreaded word, the D word for dating.
Mm-hmm.
Dating after loss, and that can be any loss. I mean, it can be, you know, death, the death of someone who you had a relationship with,
Mm-hmm.
divorce,
Mm-hmm.
the end of a relationship. And, relationships really, they, um, when they end, whatever it is, whether it's a friendship, whether it's, any kind
Could
of
even be a
relationship,
job.
a job,
Interviewing is
exactly.
like dating to
E-
me. It's awful.
Yeah, and so anytime there's an end to that,
Mm-hmm.
and then you kind of have to throw yourself back in the game, it's really difficult. So today I'm going to share um, some of the dating. I don't know if you can call them disasters, lessons, whatever they are, I'm going to be sharing with everyone today. So,
You're a
and
trooper.
and again, if anybody out there has any of their own stories to share, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah.
And I know, Greer, that you have said that you're ready to meet someone.
I am. Yeah. I mean, I would love to meet someone. Life is too hopefully long.
Yeah, yeah,
And I enjoy having like a partner in crime, and Jared was my best friend, and I really miss that puzzle piece in my life.
correct.
And the
And that connection to somebody else.
Exactly. But I will say I hate dating. I don't find it fun. I've had girlfriends who love it. And you know what? That's awesome. I
Hmm.
wish I did, to be
Hmm.
honest.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Jared and I mean, we met so young. I met him just after college. So I never really dated anyone seriously before him. I'm also very, very particular.
And so you should be. We do
So,
have to set our bar high
right.
because that's about your self-worth.
Thank
You
you.
value yourself
Thank
and
you.
you're not prepared to take someone who doesn't meet you at that level.
Right. And I think it's also important going through this process. Like, I mean, I can only imagine the differences with divorce with the loss of someone, like the death of someone, your significant other, I know that I can never replace Jared. You
Correct.
know, no matter how much I want to, there is no other Jared out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that because I don't want to replace him. I want to have
Correct.
those memories. That was a beautiful part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't continue it. You know, if I did meet someone who was a Jared clone, that person still wouldn't be the kid's dad. You know, so
Correct.
that piece is missing. So it's never going to be the same. And I have found peace with that.
Yeah. And I think that's so important because when I realized that, to stop looking for Mark, as you say, we all unique human beings and we all
Exactly.
have our own unique traits and values, etc. And when I realized that I'm not going to find Mark, but I'm going to maybe find someone with similarities to Mark,
Right.
things, and also I know through the years, for me, I have changed so much. There's so much of me that has changed that, it's going to take different things that I'm looking for now in a man.
Right.
Although I will say that Greer's happy to meet someone and wants to. I'm very happy on my own. So,
Yes, you are. You
you
are.
know, I I've kind of navigated this journey on my own and found a fulfilled life that I'm not necessarily looking for someone to, help me. And maybe eventually, I don't know. But
So yeah, so that's a question for you. You know, you have entered a new period of empty nesthood
mhm,
over the past couple of years,
mhm.
with the girls going off to school. And, you know, if someone happened to come your way, I know that you're not out seeking this, but if you ended up just meeting someone and like, would you be opposed to it?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
I would be open to that,
Okay.
but I'm not actively seeking that.
Okay. That's fair.
And when you hear some of my stories that I'm going to be sharing
I'm
today,
very curious.
I think you'll absolutely understand what I mean when I say I'm not actively looking.
Fair, fair.
So yeah, I'll begin on that note. Um, so Mark passed away. This year will be 17 years, and after about 3 years after he passed, a friend of mine said, "You know what? I think it's time for you to start thinking of dating, putting yourself out there. You've got young children, companionship, da 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 da."
For sure.
So I was like, okay, it can't harm. Maybe it will be nice. So I remember sitting specifically with two really good friends, and they took my profile picture and we put myself on one of the online dating sites. And I must say, I got on there and then I would wait. And I would wait to see, is someone going to click? Is
Right.
someone going to reach
I
out?
hate it so
I
much.
know. And it reminds me of, when you used to sit, well, you're younger than me, but we used to sit with our telephones before cell phones
Okay.
and we used to wait for it to ring if
Oh
you'd
my
met
God.
someone and, you would sit there and you will the phone to ring. So I was like looking at my computer and I'm like, come on, one, just one. And then you would get the ping and it would
Yeah.
be, okay, who is it? So that happened about maybe three times. The first one I got and I responded and I said hi, and then there was no response from him.
Okay.
And the second one, and then when I started having maybe a little bit of online conversations, I would mention that I had four children, and that would be an instant not interested.
Right.
I would
Yeah.
never hear from them again
Hmm.
because, who in their right mind would want to take on someone who's a widow, there's no dad in the picture,
Right.
and is going to take on four small children.
Right.
So I very promptly got off that and went about my life and, you know, dedicated my life to raising the kids and
The,
getting myself
the
situated.
best mom ever right here.
Well, ditto. And then it must have been probably 2 years later, a friend said, I've got someone to introduce you to.
Okay. The
And I was like,
matchmaking.
yeah,
I
someone that,
appreciate that.
yeah, much better. I
Yeah.
took off myself off the online and she said, a really sweet, great guy, and I think you should meet him.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay. I mean, if it comes from a friend, that's a little better.
Yeah.
Well, he called me. Oh my gosh, he had the most gorgeous voice.
Okay.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
he have an accent?
He had,
Because I do have a weakness for South African accents. I
oh,
don't know if I ever told you that.
no.
When I said it was love at first sight to me.
So no, he was American,
Okay,
but he
okay.
had this gorgeous voice. And
Okay.
you like think to yourself, well, you could only imagine what belongs to that voice.
Right.
So we spoke on the phone a couple of times,
Okay.
and he was and we had easy
That's
conversations,
nice.
and he didn't seem to be completely fazed by the 4 children,
Okay.
which was a
That's a
positive
big,
sign.
yeah, that's huge.
And so we decided to meet and go on a date. So I had in my head that when I did start dating, I would always just meet for coffee
Okay. Easy,
because
low key.
easy, if it doesn't working, you drink a cup of coffee and you're gone.
Totally.
So we decided to meet at a Starbucks.
Okay.
It was a Monday morning. So I get a phone call from him on the Sunday night, and he says, tomorrow's going to be the most beautiful day. Let's go for a walk.
Okay.
Now, for those of you who don't know me, I am the most unathletic person,
No,
right?
I have you beat.
I like exercise. I have gotten better with walking since I got my dog, but at that point I really wasn't. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I've got nothing casual to wear to a walking date. So long story short, I go in my brand new sneakers
Okay.
and I
Uh-oh.
still wanted to look
Of
cute,
course you did.
so I dressed myself up, I did my hair, and we met. For those of you who are not in Atlanta, there's like a greenway up in Alpharetta
Mm-hmm.
that you can walk. So we decided to meet there at 10 o'clock and off we go. And I pull in and he is in a green Prius. Nothing against Priuses,
My dad drives one, so.
right? And this tiny little man gets out the
Oh.
car, almost like the Wizard of Oz, because there he had this beautiful big voice and this, really took me in by his voice. And there, this little bald head man gets out. But
Oh.
I am really, really not one with appearances. I'm
Okay.
really not. I
Okay.
go far deeper. And so I'm
Yes.
like, okay,
Same.
this is fine.
Okay.
Until we started walking.
Okay.
And it turned out that he had worked for the water board for 30 years.
Okay.
And all his job was for 30 years was to check the like chemicals in the water
Oh,
so
like
that
for the
it,
county or
yes,
something?
for the
Okay, or the
county.
city. Okay.
Yeah, for the city.
Okay.
And so we walking and we would have to stop at every bit of water, whether it be a little
Uh,
puddle or whatever.
maybe a little
And we
obsessive.
stop, and he's like doing a little inspection,
Oh my
and he's
God.
talking to me all about the water. And I'm thinking, this is really not going well.
Yeah, not great
And
conversation.
as a friend of mine said, because I had told my sister-in-law and I told a friend of mine that I was going,
Uh-huh.
and she said that like probably 30 minutes into the time that I was walking, she was like, "Oh my God, Sim's out there on a greenway with a strange man who we've never met and she started freaking out.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, she really didn't have to worry.
Okay.
Then
He was harmless.
yeah. So the actual deal breaker for me, besides learning about water,
Okay.
was he volunteered at a synagogue
Mhm.
that made berekas every
Oh,
week.
yes. I know the synagogue.
And you know the synagogue. And the berekas are little like pastries, like little pies.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, like they can be filled with vegetables or they can potatoes, and so they're like a flaky pastry,
Yeah.
right?
Is that like phyllo dough or something
Like a
like
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
yeah.
So he says to me he loves volunteering because he goes every week because for $1 you can get a whole meal. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
sorry.
so you didn't want to meet at Starbucks because you didn't want to buy me a coffee, and you brought me on this walk to learn about water,
Oh my God.
and I'm going home. And thank goodness we saw the end of the path. I saw my car and I said,
It's
goodbye.
time. Goodbye. Never again.
So never again. Never heard from him again. Never wanted to hear from him again. And then kind of put it off for a while.
Okay, that's fair.
And I'm
But I'm
like,
proud of you for going. Like, I know it's not easy.
it's not easy. And I was
Yeah.
glad I went. And that brings me, do you want to hear another story?
I mean,
Okay, so
yeah.
this one's really great.
Okay.
And after this, you'll all realize exactly why I'm so happy in my own little world. Again, I get a phone call from somebody that I knew
Okay.
who said she's got this great South African guy to introduce me to.
Hello.
Yeah, perfect. He lives in Miami. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, he calls me, and there's because he's South African, I'm South African,
Yeah.
there's that instant
Bond.
camaraderie.
Totally.
And we speak actually every night. And
Okay.
again, he is not scared of my kids.
Okay.
He's never been married and never had children,
Okay.
which is fine.
Yeah. Because how old were you at this point?
So at this point, I must have been like 45.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And
Great.
he, I think, was 50.
Okay. Perfect.
So he says to me, I really, really want to meet you, and I'm going to come to Atlanta.
Okay.
I'm going to fly.
That's a lot of
Atlanta.
pressure.
So I'm like, okay.
Okay.
And of course, my mother is like, oh my God, this is so exciting. And this guy's coming, and everybody's so happy.
And for the listeners out there, Simonie's mom is like the ultimate cheerleader. She is
Yeah.
so upbeat, so supportive. So of course your mom's going to be very excited.
Yeah,
Like
so
I can see this. I
yeah,
love this.
exactly. So she's so excited.
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't say anything to the kids. So right. So now the days come, and he says, pick me up from the airport. So I say, great. And he says, pick a restaurant. We can go have lunch, and everything's perfect. So again, I wake up early, I do my hair, and I put on my best clothes, and I'm nervous.
Of
I'm
course,
really
yeah.
nervous. And it's from where I lived at that time was in Alpharetta, which
Okay.
was a long way to the airport.
Yes.
It's a good 45 minutes to the airport,
At
maybe even
least.
longer.
Yeah.
Maybe like an hour.
Yeah, with traffic and all that, I
Correct.
imagine closer to an
Correct.
hour. Yeah.
So his plane was coming in, I think, at 11 or whatever.
Okay.
And I leave the house and off I go. And I'm just getting to the part where you get onto the freeway.
Okay.
And my phone rings.
Okay.
And I see that it's him.
Okay.
And I didn't think anything. My first thought was he was meant to be on the plane.
Uh-huh.
He was meant to be flying.
Yeah.
But then I pick up the phone, and he says to me, yeah, he says, hi. He says, I was so looking forward to meeting you. He said, but I've had stomach ache the whole night.
Oh
He
no.
said, and I just couldn't get on the plane.
Poor
He
guy.
said,
Anxiety, you think?
clearly anxiety.
Oh,
He said, and I even, well, this for me was a bit of a deal breaker. He said,
okay.
I even packed myself a little snack and lunch for on the plane. And I'm like, I think you're right. I think just as well you didn't get on the
Like high
plane.
maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank goodness you didn't get
Yeah.
on the plane.
Okay.
So so he said, I'm really sorry, and I never heard from him again. And I went back home, and I said to my mom, this is pretty much it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to
That's
I don't
totally
want to go
fair.
through this, and I don't want to be part of this.
Right.
And I did go through it one more time.
Okay. So when is this one?
So this must have been, it was pre-COVID.
Okay.
I think it was just
So
pre-COVID.
maybe 2019, 2020.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It was just pre-COVID. And again, I was introduced.
Okay.
And so we met for coffee in the morning, and we sat speaking for 3 hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
And then he said to me, I really want to take you out tonight, that
Okay.
night. So I was like, okay.
That's
Or
awesome.
I don't think I couldn't make it that night,
Got it. Okay.
but I could make it the next night. So
Okay.
he said, let's go the next night.
Okay.
So we go the next night, and he takes me to a movie,
Yeah.
and then we go to dinner just, in where the movie was.
Okay.
And we're busy talking, and I don't know, Greer, like I sat there, and just within an instant, I thought to myself, this is over.
Oh no.
Yeah,
What made you
this
think
is over.
that?
I just got such a feel.
Uh-huh.
Like I got such a, I just felt it in
Interesting.
I just was like, this is over. And he says to me a few minutes later, I mean, I think this is okay to share with everyone. He says to me, if they're kids listening, maybe not. He says to me,
Kids, earmuffs. Get back on in 15 seconds.
including my kids.
Oh, that's what I meant. Your kids. Okay.
So he says to me, he puts down his knife and fork, and I thought, okay, here it's coming. It's over.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Uh,
And he says to me, I think you're really lovely.
mhm.
And that's like, you're really lovely,
Right,
but
but
this is not going to
exactly.
work. This is not for me. He says to me, but you've been on your own. So it was what, like 12 or 13 years at
Yeah,
the time?
yeah.
He says, you've been on your own for so long. You tell me you've never been with another man.
Uh-huh.
He said, and I just don't think that I want to be with someone who hasn't slept with a man in so long,
Oh, okay.
and who is not, um, I don't know, like
More experience. Interesting. Okay.
And I was like,
Okay.
oh my God.
I mean,
Like,
I appreciate his transparency.
yeah, but I was
But
like,
yeah, that's a little jaw-dropping.
and I have a really good guy friend, and I called him from the car, and I said to him, I said, well, there's nothing I can do to change
Right.
that.
Yeah, you are.
And but clearly we
Right.
won't ever see each other again. And I called
hope
this
not.
friend of mine from the car, because I was really upset. That
Yes.
really hurt.
Yeah.
That hurt deep, because that was on so many levels, made me realize, that Mark was gone, that I hadn't had a
Right.
relationship.
It's not like it
that-
was in your control,
Correct.
that he was gone. And yeah, that's
I mean, yeah, I had put myself out there, and
right.
I had, met the water guy, and then the guy who was flying from Miami and never
Right.
came, and now this.
Yeah.
So I called this friend of mine, and I was crying, and I told him what he said, and he said, oh my God, he said, any normal man would be all over you. Like, who gets that opportunity again at this stage of our lives? Like, we like, oh my God. He said He said, Sim, he's not a normal man because any other normal man would have been all over you.
His loss.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
so he really was the one who ended it for me.
Yeah,
He, yeah.
I don't blame you. That's it just the process, like those stories, they feel so discouraging.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're putting yourself out there, you're going through the motions, and for what?
Yeah, yeah,
Not for
and
you.
not for me, not for me. And I went home and I said to my mother, who lives with me, for those of you who don't know, and I said to her, you know, that's really it.
Yeah.
Like I mean, that was degrading. Like I
Right.
felt degraded. I felt self-conscious. I felt
Hmm.
awful.
How did you even respond, like in the
The
moment?
moment I don't even remember. I think I was so stunned
Yeah.
that I think all I said was, "Oh,
Because
okay,
you're like, this has been
okay."
over and I'm ready to go. Check, please.
But I knew it was over before he
Right.
said it was over. I just
Exactly.
got that vibe that
Oh,
he'd been thinking about it and he was like, you know.
I'm sorry.
So
That's
you know what?
frustrating.
Those are my stories, but that's just me personally. And
Yeah.
I I have heard so many wonderful stories about
Mm-hmm.
people and second chances and people who meet their right person. And so don't be discouraged by me. Don't
Right.
be discouraged by my stories.
Yeah.
Um, I just wanted to share them to show you that it's real what's out there.
It is. Yeah.
It can be a little disheartening.
Yeah.
Um, and it's made me very wary, but that's not to say that for all of you who are out there and alone and, having lost a relationship in
Mm-hmm.
whichever form, it's okay to put yourself out there,
It
and
is.
you may just have to go through so many frogs until you find that one prince, and have patience. And I personally didn't have the patience to keep going.
Right.
I could have, but I did. I gave up.
Right.
I gave up. But I'm not saying to you, to
Of course
anyone
not.
listening, don't give up.
It,
It's not a blueprint. You don't have to. But I'm just saying the reality is that this is what happens this is what can happen
right.
when you enter the dating world.
Right. There are beautiful success stories out there. And there are also situations where it's hard to find your match. This experience has been very interesting for me. I have been on a couple of dates.
Mm-hmm.
They were both like only first dates.
Mm-hmm.
One was with a very nice person. He had never been married before, no kids, really wanted kids. So, I appreciated that because I come
Sure.
with baggage, and for
Sure.
him it was a package deal. And
Right.
but we just didn't click. I think that there just wasn't attraction,
Mm.
and that's okay. That was actually my first date after Jared died, and I would say I'm trying to think. It was about 3 years after, and a little more than 3 years after he died, and it was a very positive experience.
Right.
I will
Right.
say. I had, I'm, as you listeners can probably tell, I'm an open book. So
Mm-hmm.
I was very transparent and told him, this is a very new experience and process for me, and I really want to take it slow. And he was very patient, and we chatted quite a bit, and it made the in-person much more comfortable for me, which I really
Mm-hmm.
appreciated. Um, and then I also went out with someone. I met someone for coffee. I've known this person for years. Very, very nice person. I think the timing just wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I feel like I've gone into these encounters. I've tried to go in with low
Mm-hmm.
expectations because for everything to align, that it just takes
It's
so much
it does.
for the physical attraction, the chemistry, the conversation. I also like for anyone that I'm interested in, they have to have a really good sense of humor. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that is like
Yeah,
probably requirement number one.
100%.
And it just there's just so much that has to go into it. So I have just accepted the fact I am proud of myself for putting myself out there.
Very,
And
very.
I just, it's interesting. I've spoken, as you have heard, to a few mediums over the years.
Yeah.
And I've had two mediums tell me very specifically that Jared is going to send me someone to take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
And that part, the take care of me piece, is very, I just knew it was him because I am the oldest daughter of three.
Right,
I have always been an old soul.
right,
And I've always tried to take care of my family and the
right,
people in my world.
right.
And until Jared died, I did that. And
Mm-hmm.
now for the first time I'm letting others take care of me, which is very hard. However, when he said he was sending someone to take care of me, I just knew that was him because he was the one person to take care of me while I took care of
Correct,
everybody and everything else.
correct. Yeah.
And the mediums also both told me, the ones who said this, that I already know this person, which
Wow,
is really fascinating to me.
wow.
So, whether it comes to fruition or not, I am trying to stay open-minded.
Yep.
I will not settle. I never did
No,
and don't
no.
plan to. I think for me, I've experienced challenges I think because of where I am in life. I mean, I'm now 42,
Mm-hmm.
widowed,
Mm-hmm.
with an 8.5 and an almost 7-year-old. And at my age, there are a lot of people who have been never been married before, which
Correct,
I think is wonderful. The thing is, I don't want to have any more biological children.
correct.
And I think a lot of men in that 40, give or take, age
Mm-hmm.
range do
Want
want to
children, settle
build their
down
own
and have
family.
children. Right, right.
Exactly. And then those that are a little older, like maybe the 45 to 50-year-olds,
Don't want little children.
exactly. They
Yeah,
don't want little children. They don't want to have to deal with like the parenting that goes along with it. I also am the sole parent, so I have 100% custody over my
correct,
children. So it's
correct,
not like I can even, hand the kids off to their other parent while, this person and I go on vacation or anything like
correct,
that. So
correct.
it's just
Yep.
it's harder. The
Yeah,
logistics of dating in my world right now are harder.
yeah.
So it's okay. I have just accepted that. And while I am trying to keep doors and windows cracked,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not like running out them trying to find something that I have no control over at the end
Correct,
of the day.
correct.
I remember years ago, my therapist once told me that I have to create my own ice cream sundae,
Mm,
and Jared gets to be the cherry on top.
top, right,
I have to create my own happiness. I
right.
can't put that on someone else.
Exactly. And that is so true because if I think back, and this is just something that I would say to listeners, if you find yourself in an end of relationship situation, don't rush into finding someone to fill that gap. Don't, rush. For me, it was so important to grow and to become comfortable with who I am, to live with me, to know what was important to me. I am so clear cut now in my life who I am, what I want, where I'm going, and who that person is that may have an opportunity to, and I say may, have an opportunity to come into my life just to enhance it. I don't need anyone to rescue me. I don't need anyone to rescue my children. And the same applies to you, Greer.
Right. I
You
don't need
don't need
anyone,
rescuing.
but I'll take it.
You need, right, but you need someone who's going to
Exactly.
enhance your life, enhance your children's lives. And
Exactly.
I think that's an important, for me, that was such an important point in my life to get to, that I
Right.
am so secure in who I am. I'm so secure in the path that I've chosen for my life that I can honestly, I am so healthy, but that is for me very important to find someone who has reached that level as well, where they
Right.
are healthy in their attitude towards life, healthy with, within themselves,
Right.
that they don't need rescuing.
And
I don't want to rescue someone. I have raised four children. I don't want to now raise another person.
right. And you don't have to.
No.
And I will say there are times in our lives where we go from loss to finding someone quickly.
Hmm.
And sometimes that can be really wonderful. And the
Agreed.
timing can be perfect.
Correct.
And it's beautiful.
If
And
it
that's
all if it
okay.
all lines up.
That is okay.
Yeah.
I have a friend who once told me that there are some people who need others to help them grieve.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that that was so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can do it solo, some people can't. And it just goes back to how unique grief is
Exactly.
and how unique we all are as individuals.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So
yeah,
so yeah, so I hope that today, for those of you who have any anxiety around putting yourself out there, that you be gentle on yourselves,
right,
first of all. Be
right.
gentle. There's no urgency, there's no time limit. You can
Yeah,
do it when you feel right. And sometimes just take that leap and put yourself out there, and you may not get the water guy, and you
right.
may not get the guy who's not going to get on a plane to come to you.
Hmm.
But, given that now, I expect a person to get on a plane and come to me.
As you should.
That's
You
my
deserve the world.
expectation.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Well,
so,
I do want to say one more thing.
mhm,
So immediately after Jared died, I remember looking at funeral or sorry, burial plots. And
ah,
this, I mean, this was what, 2 or 3 days after Jared died. So this is in the
mm,
immediate
mm,
aftermath. So clearly I was in no place to process information or think logically.
right.
I didn't have the tools at that time. And I just remember freaking out of, am I getting one plot or two plots?
Mm,
Because I knew that I was only 38.
yeah,
I knew that my kids were really young, and as as much as Jared meant to me and still means to me, I knew that I didn't want to be alone
correct.
forever.
Correct.
And I didn't know what that meant in terms
Mm-hmm.
of funeral, or sorry, burial plots or cemetery plots. So I was putting so much pressure on myself.
Mm,
And a friend of mine, one of my best friends who had lost her dad, she said, Greer, you people sell cemetery plots.
correct.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I was 38 years old.
Yeah.
Like, I had no
Yeah,
idea. I was very privileged not to know that at the time.
of course.
So
Of
once she
course.
said that, I was like, oh my God. Okay. So then I'll just go ahead and get two side by side. And then, honestly, as the weeks and months went on, the more clarity I had, the more I realized, and this is my own beliefs, everyone believes differently, but I realized I'm doing this for the kids.
Mm,
I'm doing this so that the kids can go and visit their dad.
mm,
And so that we can, but also so that when they do go and eventually visit me as well, I'm making it easy.
correct.
I want their parents to be very
Mm-hmm,
next to each
mm-hmm,
other. So and this works for me because my personal views are I don't believe that I am only going to be with whomever it is I am buried next to in the afterlife.
mm-hmm,
That is not my personal belief. So it made that process easier. And the reason I bring this up is some of us in our situations are faced very quickly with very long-term decisions.
correct.
And that can be really overwhelming
Mm-hmm,
when you don't necessarily know what you want in that moment. So if you are fresh in this journey, there is always a way to figure things out, change the plans,
mm-hmm,
change course as
mm-hmm,
you need to as you continue to go through your grief journey. You might think you never want to be with anyone ever again because you want to fulfill your wedding vows until you are also no longer here. Or maybe there's no one else out there for you because you were already with your soulmate. That's okay. And
absolutely.
if you change your mind, if you meet a really good human
Mm-hmm,
down the road,
mm-hmm,
that's okay too. Maybe your significant other doesn't want you to be alone. Maybe they even
correct.
sent you this person. So try to stay open-minded, which I know is
Mm-hmm,
really hard, especially in the beginning, but you will get through this.
yeah.
And at some point, you might even have the stories to laugh about it, like Simonie does.
Yeah, yeah, for real, for real. And yeah, so it's that process that we always talk about.
Yes,
It's the process of and grief is like it's like a river, it ebbs and it flows. And one day you may say, this is my decision, and by the 24 hours later, it's oops, you know what? That's not going to work for me. And that's all okay.
right.
So we just wanted to share, I just wanted to share my
Thank
dating
you.
world.
Thank you.
If anyone has any stories they want to share, we would love to hear.
Yes.
And any tips that you have, um, as I say, if he does fall out of the sky, then I'm open. Am I going back online? No.
Good to
Am
know.
I very fussy now? Yep.
You know what?
So,
You have a
so
right to be. Yep.
yeah. So thank
Love
you for
it.
listening.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you. Please share with anyone who might benefit from the Grief and Grit podcast. You can also follow us at Grief and Grit Podcast on Instagram, on Facebook, TikTok coming soon,
Yeah.
and on Substack. And we will chat next time.
Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Mwah.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you love what you heard, please follow Grief and Grit and share our podcast with your friends and family.